Assalamu alaikum everyone, and we are back with ThinkWise. In today's class, we'll be discussing about a certain skill that people think that you are born with, but it is actually something that you can learn with dedication, you can learn with practice, and this is known as the communication skills. Where you need to understand that how to understand the other person in such level that they will trust you and they will make an understanding for whatever you have to describe to them. In today's lecture, we'll be discussing about communication, then how the communication process works, how many types the communication has, then what are the barriers that you need to overcome in order to make the other person understand you, or you need to understand the other person. Then we have 7 C's, how you can apply in order to make an understanding of the other person. And then we have workplace communication, how you can improve that, right? So, first of all, in order to define the difference between conversation and communication, which is also always misunderstood, and people compare these things at the same level. When you talk about conversation is just like having a normal speaking to the other person, where one person is either listening or not. It's not you, it doesn't matter to someone. For example, if someone is using someone is using a cell phone while you're talking to that person, and the person is just hearing whatever you are saying, that will be considered as conversation, because the main motive of you is just to take out whatever you are thinking, and the main motive of the listener is just to have giving you the idea that the other person is listening, and they are not creating any sort of feedback or anything in a reaction, right? On the other hand, when we talk about communication is that process where you send a message in order to make the other person understand what you have in your mind. As a writer and as a speaker, it's always your understanding that it's your responsibility to make the other person understand what you have in your mind. And as a listener and as a reader, it's the responsibility of that person to make you think, understand that, okay, no, it's not possible that one person can understand 100% whatever the other person has something in their mind. But with communication, with this skill, we make sure that we are able to understand the other person at their maximum percentage, right? So moving on, why communication actually matters? It actually matters in order to build a good relationship. When you have a good rapport with the other person, the person can trust you. The person will be able to make sure that they can rely on you for your future mergers, for your future references, for your future ideology to share. Every time, whenever you have that kind of skill to have, where the other person is able to understand and the person believes that they are being understood, only that matter of time people will build a certain relationship. Either it's on the workplace or either it's on the personal space as well, right? Then you have to talk about the skills that improves teamwork. Then, as a team leader, if you're working as, if you are part of a team where you have been led, right? In both cases, it's very much important to realize, to make the other person realize that, okay, as a leader, it's your responsibility to make and gives your idea in such manner so that the other person can understand, they can have a connection with you. Whenever you people are actually creating a communication, whenever you are sharing a certain idea, when you have a certain message to deliver. And on the other hand, those people who are being led, those people who are in your teams, the person who needs to work with you, they need to have a good skill of listening to understand that what your actually need is, what your actually requirement is, in order to make a certain project works, in order to make a certain ideology works, and in order to make a certain message to be understood by each and every person that is working in a team collectively, right? And then, if you are making a good rapport at a workplace, or maybe in a personal space, if you are making a good leader and you are being a good teamwork and you have a certain good leadership skill, it will definitely supports in enhancing your career, just in order to put your ideas in such a manner to the other person so that they can believe in you, they will be helping you in order to make a career growth for yourself. So it's very much important to have that kind of skill to be understood by someone, and it's a very good skill to be working on with the other person as well. So it's very much important if you are part of a certain workspace, if you are part of a certain ideology that will be understood by each and everyone, it definitely supports you. It definitely brings out a good point of view from the other side, and it will definitely helps you as well. Then we talk about the communication process, that how it works. Definitely the person who has some ideology to share with you, it's going to be certain a sender. Right now, I am the sender who is actually going to make you some understanding of how the communication process works. Right now, I am the sender. Then the sender encodes the messages. The send encoding is that process that happens in your brain, that happens in your mind, that okay, this is the language that I'll be using. This is the tone that I'll be using. This is the pitch that I'll be using in order to collect it, in order to make the other person understand whatever I have said. For example, if you can say, if one leader to leader, one person is talking, the tone, the selection of words, and the seriousness of the topic will be totally different. It will be in my head, right? Encoding happens in your head. And if I'm talking to someone at the same level, the tone and the selection of words will be totally different. But when I'm talking to my juniors, when I'm talking to my team members whom I have to lead, then definitely the selection of words, the tone, and the ideology that I'll be sharing with them will be totally different. So encoding happens in your mind, that whatever respect, whatever anger or anything that I'm going to be using it. For example, that people also always say that you have to think before you speak. So that thinking process in your mind is known as encoding in your communication process. Then we have a message. Right after I have decided that, okay, as a sender, I have a certain message to describe, that is the encoding. Then I will be designing the message that I have to share, right? As a team leader, as a team leader, if I have to tell my team that, okay, we have been working on a certain project from now on, I will be telling them one by one, step by step. I will not be indulging each and everything on the shoulder of my team members, and I'll be asking them to manage it or maybe figure out by themselves. I have to make them realize that, okay, this is the important one, and this is the non-important, unimportant things that you have to share. Then we have the channel. Channel is basically the medium that you people use in how you are going to get the message. Either it can be face to face, either it can be through text, either it can be through video call, either it can be through voice messages. Any process or any medium that you people choose in order to share your message, that will be considered as the channel. Then the receiver is going to be, or receivers are going to be, those people who will be listening to your messages. Anyone who is going to be collecting the message from themselves, that will be considered as a receiver. Right now, if you people are listening to me on the other side of the screen, you all are the receivers, right? And then according to your mindset, according to the knowledge of your knowledge of the language that I'm talking in, according to the ideology that you already know from your previous experiences, you will be decoding the messages according to that thing, right? Whatever, right now you are listening to me, right now you wanted to learn something, right now you're listening to the everything that I am saying, and and in the process of listening, there is something going on in your mind that you're continuously translating each and everything in your mind so that you can understand anything. And if you have any question, the questions are definitely turning into your mind as well. This is known as decoding. And right after, when you have a certain question in your mind, whenever it will be on your lips, that will be considered as feedback. When you start asking the questions to me in the comment section, that will be the feedback, right? This is how the whole communication process works. It's the sender, then encoding, messages, channel, receiver, decoding, and feedback. And there are always going to be the noise. Either the noise can be from my side, either as a speaker, and either the noise can be from your side as a listener. So everything, when you are having a certain hindrance in order to listen to something, if the communication process is going on, and it can goes with the writing process as well. If I'm going to give you a certain report or anything that has a certain misprinting in it, that will be considered as noise, because you're unable to understand whatever is happening in that certain document, right? So I hope that the communication process is clear up till now. Then we have certain types of communication that we'll be learning it one by one. We are definitely just going to the basics of communication, that it is before going to the advanced level, that how communication works at a workplace and how you can improve it. We need to understand that how communication actually works. Then we have, first of all, we have the type of communication that is known as verbal communication. Anything that considered has words will be considered as verbal communication. When you have, when you are speaking, when you are confident, when you have listen actively, avoid interrupting, everything considers as verbal communication. Verbal communication means any type of communication that has words in it. Either it is in the writing, either it's in the verbal sense, either in the speaking form. Everything is considered as verbal communication. Then we have non-verbal communication that continues whenever you have a certain face-to-face communication with eye contact, with gestures, with postures, with facial expression, tone of your voice. If I am making an eye contact with one person and I'm telling that person that, okay, I'm getting angry, the person will change the communication. If I am using my hands while talking to the other person, if I'm using any, if I'm getting uncomfortable by any person's maybe behavior or maybe any person's facial expression, then I will give the gestures. My posture will be totally different. I will just start fidgeting. I will just start fisting my hand. I will start looking at somewhere else. That the change of posture will make the other person understand that, okay, I'm not comfortable talking to someone person. And the other person, then the last one is facial expressions. If you are not okay with the facial expression of anyone, if the one person is getting bored for whatever you are saying, if one person is getting exciting for whatever you are saying, if one person has a question in their mind and they are making a certain face that, okay, they are just trying to stop talking and then they're going to ask the question, you will know from their facial expressions. And in communication process, non-verbal communication takes 50 to 60% of the major communication part. If you're talking to someone and your expressions, your eye contact is not giving the similarity with your words, people will unable to understand and they will never connect with you. I'm telling you this thing. If you are showing that you are confident because your tone of the voice is very much friendly, your expressions are not in control, and if you are just folding your hands and arms in front of it, or your hands are in the pocket, then definitely means that you're not confident. You're just hiding something. So you need to really work on your nonverbal communication. Then in active listening, I've told you so many times that communication process or communication skills doesn't matter only if you're talking to someone or if you're speaking. It works from both sides as a feedback until and unless you have not listened to something actively. If you have not listened to the other person, you will never be able to make a feedback. You'll never be able to ask a question. You will never be able to put some effort or put some feedback or to tell the other person that they are wrong. You have to listen to the other person. And in order to do listening, you have to pay attention. You have to ask question uh, in order to make your idea more visible and in order to make your idea more clear. Give them the feedback. Show empathy that you have to put yourself in somebody else's shoes whenever you are listening. What if you are in their place? Will you be able to understand other person like they are doing the understanding? For example, if you have listened to the TED Talks, and they always try to come up because their audience, they know the level of their audience. If as a nursery teacher, I am teaching my student without touching them, without making an understanding or become their friend, they will never create that kind of connection with me because I have to put myself in their shoes that if I was a child, if I have a child, if I have been in their age, will I be able to understand that, okay, red color, apple is of red color, apple can be of yellow color, apple can be of green color as well. But we have always shows till children that, okay, the color of apple is just red. You have to understand that students and children of today's age, they have become more attentive to everything that they are seeing and they are listening. That's why they repeat it in front of everyone. Whenever you are going to talk something in a private room in front of your children, in front of your child, they're definitely going to repeat it in front of everyone. So you have to be very much careful. Then we have the language barriers. There are certain language barriers that you need to work on. Language barriers can be of language, noise, emotions, culture, poor listening. It can be, it can be in that sense that if one person has different language, if you're unable to understand their language, if I start speaking in Chinese and your background is of not Chinese, you will not be able to understand in a certain in a certain environment. If I am be present at math seminar and I started talking in the chemistry formula, that will